Hey, I'm Jeff, and I make music with my brother.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I also make music with my brother.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack, and we make music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack.
Our latest single, The Light, has been out for a month. It's with Ruth Royall. It's the first single on our
Album.
and it's already got 100K on Spotify, which I think is the best performing song we've had on Spotify, which is really fantastic. So
It's
thank you
also
all.
a bunch of streams on Apple Music and across other
And all the other
platforms
streamers
as well.
Yeah,
But
but
it's a great response.
it is a great response. Thank you so much for the support, everyone.
You sound like you're about to cry.
No, just some of we talked about before we started the podcast, we were like, oh, we should mention The Light. And sometimes when we do those
Cold opens.
yeah, not cold opens, but like the setup, like, oh, remember to mention this. It almost feels like a radio stinger. It's got this like fakeness to it that I need to get warmed up to.
You resist it as well.
It's not so much that I resist it and I can turn it on, but mixing that with the podcast is kind of strange. Like going into this conversation where we don't really know what we're going to say, but starting it with
Some self-promotion.
it's not so much self-promotion. It's the line aspect of it that
Wow.
is odd. But anyway,
I'm not completely sure what you mean, but it's really cool that people have supported the tune so far, and we love all the lovely messages we've received about it as well. It was amazing to work with Ruth, and we can't wait to share more music with you in about a month. And we've got some other news coming up, but we will hold that until maybe next week.
yeah. The next single is actually out in a month.
Oh.
Yeah, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Someone messaged us on Instagram asking, what does the light mean? And I said,
Google it.
music is subjective. Like, what does it mean to you? And he wrote
You
back,
just bought yourself some more time.
because it's true. Like, what it means to us is going to be different to the person that listens to it. And I'm more interested in hearing what it means to someone that didn't write the song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said he had struggled with depression and loneliness, and he thought the song was about the hope of that there is a light out there.
Yep.
Whether that's a light of people, whether that's a light of a new job or community or whatever it is, to kind of...
It's a light at the end of the tunnel.
It's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I was like, yeah, that's basically what we were thinking.
It's a song about hope.
Yeah.
In a word, it's about hope.
I think when we write a song with Ruth, we always write about hope. There's like a hopeful aspect to it.
Yeah. I'd say there's a hopeful aspect. Even the original lyrics for what is now The Light had a hopeful tone to it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Obviously we posted that video the other day where we kind of showcased the weekend that we spent down in Bristol with Ruth when we worked on the song last year. And I'd kind of forgotten that we had an old vocal on it. And I'm so glad we changed it. And I'm so glad it evolved into what it is now.
Yeah, sometimes you can get demoitis and you get married to an idea that is.
Yeah.
And you struggle to push past.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad with that we did push past because it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
To all of us, really. It felt like it just needed a little bit more workshopping. And then to Ruth's credit, rather than workshopping 2 lines, she was like, I actually just think I'm going to go write something completely different.
Yeah.
And that's always a gamble, especially when you're like, I think this actually works. But it's good to make new versions of things. You can always go back.
Yeah.
You can't go back in time, though.
No, you can't go back in time. But I think, the evolution of it was cool. It's cool to we're a month out of releasing it. It's been out in there. out there in the ether. People are listening to it. People have given us feedback. I'm starting to now shift my relationship with it. It's now becoming like how I feel about synchronize or let the light in. I'm not so much thinking about the mix idiosyncrasies or the...
Now I'm all thinking about the next one. Like, God, I hope someone plays this song. Like, did we send it to that person? It's just all about the new one.
But it feels good. Like it's...
Yeah, we've actually got to talk off the podcast about video ideas.
Yeah. It feels good to like, I don't know, I guess we're going to let the light go.
Why not let the light in?
And then focus on the next one.
Yes. And that's what working on an album, that's what doing a body of work is all about.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what did you do on the weekend? I went to a wedding.
What did I do on the weekend? Sorry, you went to a wedding. I thought you segued yourself.
Shout out to Nick, sub-focus. Who segued himself in a conversation that we had. Yeah, I went to a wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding, and it was in the southwest of Australia. But the reason I bring it up is because it had some of the best speeches I've ever heard. Really heartfelt, really caring. Both the bridesmaids and the groomsmen had amazing words to say, but something that really stuck with me is the beauty of long-term friendships, because one of Kate's friends has known her since pre-primary in the UK, and then when Kate moved over here about 12 years ago, she developed a new friendship with someone else who's equally as lovely, and it's almost like they just passed the baton to each other, and they both just had such beautiful things to say about their friend Kate. And you know Kate, she's the sweetest,
the best,
hilarious and amazing. And so is Tom.
Her? Just kidding.
Kate.
That's an inside joke between me, Kate, and Tom that no one else will get.
That's funny. Basically relates to you constantly introducing yourself to Kate.
Yeah, for a good 3 years.
Yeah, the joke's, it's still funny.
I think so.
But it made me think about long-term friendships and cultivating those long-term friendships, and the kind of things I'd want people to say at my future wedding, or what would I say? What have I said at people's various celebrations? And it's a lovely thing to celebrate relationships and friendships.
It is. That's why it's important to have weddings or celebrate moments in your life, whether that's a birthday even. So you're gathered by everyone.
Speaking of which, my birthday's coming up this weekend. If you'd like to send us a gift,
Sunday,
get in
19th
touch.
of March. It's important to be around people that you love on those days, so you can be reminded. It almost feels like they're the moments where you take stock and be like, yes, I am surrounded by love, or I am loved, or something like that.
I love seeing love.
Yeah.
It's like the reason we like seeing a gift giving.
Yeah.
And for any listener that hasn't heard us talk about the concept of a gift giving before, just witnessing in public, just a moment where someone is literally giving a gift.
Like opening a present.
Yeah, or sharing a little moment.
I love a good sharing of food.
Yes, that kind of thing. That's like...
And just the snippet of reality you see as you're walking past a restaurant, or you're walking in a train station.
Or it's happening next to you and you're like, oh, there's a good exchange. It's almost like you can see the energy getting stronger in that moment.
I mean, I've witnessed love most recently, I think, with you and Holly, and I've really enjoyed it.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, Hol. Being, I don't know, it kind of like I've had more fly in the wall moments, because I've come over to your guys' house at random times that isn't about like we're getting ready to go out or something. So you kind of just witness the relationship a bit more, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
I'm glad, because it makes me feel love, and it makes me feel happy. I've got I've got
some things to say.
I got friends. I
got some things to say.
Like, I love loving relationships.
Yeah.
And being like, fuck yeah. Like, you're talking about Kate and Tom. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fuck yeah relationship for me.
That's what I aim for.
Yeah, I think everyone should aim for that.
Yeah, because you meet someone. No, sorry, let me say that again. You see relationships and you go, gosh, I hope I can meet someone like that. Like, I remember hearing Tom and Kate in the other room giggling, laughing. Like, it's almost like they were tickling each other. They were laughing so much. And I was like, man, I wonder if I will ever have that same thing with a girlfriend. Not to discredit any of the partners I've ever had, but like there was this
bad ticklers.
No, there was this thing. You could sense the energy, and I was like, man, I hope I have that sometime in the future, and I believe I do.
You do.
So like you said, great relationships, fuck yeah, relationships.
Yeah,
we're lucky enough to know a few people in those relationships.
Yeah, we are, and I think like. It just inspires me, as it did you, to make sure you find your fuck yeah relationship rather than a whatever relationship or a fills in the gaps relationship.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
No, it's not. Like, I started re-listening to Big Magic. This week by Elizabeth Gilbert.
I wanted to ask you about this, so I'm glad you've.
And it's
an amazing book and an amazing audio book to listen to.
Yeah, she's so good.
She sounds like a lovely American mum or auntie that's so encouraging, so nurturing, and it's amazing. I cannot recommend that book enough.
She's the writer of Eat, Pray, Love.
And several other things.
And several other books, but that's what she's probably most famous for. And probably Big Magic. And Big Magic is about creativity and the muse and that kind of stuff. And it's wonderful. But she intros the book talking about a poet called... Fuck, I forgot his name. Something Gilbert. But his last name's Gilbert as well. No relation. And... he, releases a book and then goes off and doesn't write anything for 20 years and comes back and releases another book and then goes off and then starts teaching. And she takes over the teaching role from him at a university in America. And she asked the students what he was like, and all the students are saying, like, he was amazing. He was like so wise and so supportive. And he said to the students, God damn it. I hate when you forget a simple quote, especially when you're trying to tell a story. I've written it up on my wall.
Cast your mind back. There's time.
Hey, it's Jonathan from the future. I went home and actually found the quote, and the quote is, live in uninterrupted marvel. Now back to the show. Live in unimaginable curiosity.
If that's not it, that's a wonderful.
I think.
What's the word? Now I can't find a word. That's a great way to say it.
But anyway, basically the idea of find curiosity in everything and really go live your life. And he was also saying, if you don't, talking about fear. He was like, if you don't take chances, you're not going to live the big life that you deserve and can have. You'll just live the little life.
Yes.
And I thought about that when it comes to relationships, because you can live the small relationship with whatever, the safe partner, or you can go for the big relationship, which is like, I'm going to wait out till the person comes that makes me laugh and giggle in the bedroom, non-sexually, just like making jokes and sexually. And like, you can wait, like you deserve that. Everyone fucking deserves that. So wait, you deserve better.
It's almost like hold your course in like...
And trust the course.
Trust the process and hold your course. And you're like, if you keep improving yourself, you'll attract a better partner. And you'll also have a higher tolerance for quality, or is it a lower tolerance for bad things? Either way, however that fits in, a higher tolerance for quality is in like you'll recognize faster that something's not serving you.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, ooh, shiny, and being distracted. And it's hard. it's tough. It's not easy, but
It wasn't meant to be easy.
it wasn't meant to be easy. And it's also very hard to, when you're in the throes of it, to hear that. Like, hold the course. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay on target. You're doing good things. Good things are coming.
Big things are coming.
Big things are coming. Good. Like, what's gone, what's coming is better than what is past.
Yeah.
These kinds of things. But in the moment, you're like, I just want it now. Have I not done enough? Have I not done all the things? And whether that's relationships, your career, even just waiting in a fucking line, be patient.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest thing to hear. I have become more patient because it's something I'm trying to work on. I am working on, sorry. But it still challenges me every day on a bigger scale. Like, I can be patient and wait in a line or wait for someone to finish what they're saying or something like that. But then there's other things in my life I'm like, I want it now. And not in a Veruca Salt kind of way. I think I'm like, there's a deserving. There's been a lot of effort put in. So,
well, it's like I think we might have touched on it a couple of weeks ago. Delayed gratification. There's, for the big things in life, delayed gratification that's what it's all about, basically. You write a song, or I think about it in terms of the album. We finish an album, and we have to technically wait 4 months until people can listen to it.
Yeah.
And we don't know if people like it or not.
And we also have all that time to change our relationship with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on otherwise.
Yeah.
You can't shortcut that.
No.
It's like you can't buy status credits with an airline to maintain your status.
No. It would be nice if you could, so I could go up to gold. Qantas, if you're watching. 75 points off.
But it's like you can't pay to join a club that you have to be asked to be a member of.
But But I think nowadays you can. You can pay.
But that's what makes the clubs that you have to be asked to be a member of so special.
Yeah.
And if you want to think about a relationship as being the ultimate version of a club, it's very exclusive.
Only 2 members.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3.
Maybe 4 if you into that kind of thing.
Shout out my poly family.
That's it. Podcast is big in Utah. But it's an exclusive club, and it's a club that you want to maintain your membership and make it as good as possible so that more people join. No, I don't know how much further I can stretch the analogy, but you
just want a good club. When people come over to your club, you want people to go like, this is fucking great. I want my club to be like that, rather than be like, my club's basically a fucking tennis court that's also used as a car park on the weekends. Like
you can't play that. You kind of can, but is there membership fees?
But don't worry, just my relationship's fucking dying.
Yeah,
it's like you want
like a best.
My
friend
voice is dying. You want you want a best friend. You want a best friend that you can also sleep with and be silly with. That's what you want. That's what I want.
And I witnessed that on the weekend and the merging of that. And I also witnessed some other great couples interacting because that couple is lucky enough to know a bunch of other couples that are great.
I think
team members.
Great couples do attract great couples.
Magnetic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't have a full sentence. I just say a concept. Yes, magnetism. No, yes, you make a good point.
Was I?
I think so, sorry.
I think it was good. I'm a fucking genius.
You are sometimes. We just gotta believe.
Again, in big magic.
In big magic.
In bag magic, she talks about the change of in ancient Greece. The word genius comes from another word which I've forgotten, but basically, it suggested that people weren't geniuses; they had geniuses. So it was always like creativity, the muse, this thing that made someone special. It was separate to who you were as a person, so it could come and go. And then I think it was the Industrial Revolution or the Scientific Revolution came, and the word changed from having genius to being a genius as like mythology and the idea of gods and spiritual things kind of died off, and practicalism came in, and the logic and science came in. People started referring to people as being geniuses, and that's what kind of fucked it up a little bit, which I thought was quite cool, because it's like, if people call you a genius, that actually puts a lot of pressure on you. She uses the example of Harper Lee, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
Which is a very famous book. She never wrote anything after that.
Wow.
Because she never tried to, because she could never live up to Harper Lee. And I think there's like one interview she does where someone says, what are you going to do next? And Harper Lee says, when you're on top, there's only one way you can go.
Oof.
Which is quite a sad thing, because like here's this amazingly talented writer who's written this fantastic book who never writes again because she's so afraid that it's not going to live up to her genius. And everyone's around her going like, oh, this is the best book. You're a fucking genius.
Yeah, funny. We were talking to, again, Nick Subfocus the other day, and he briefly mentioned the idea of, having a few tunes after your album so that you've got something to like hit with a bang after your album, so that you don't have this pressure of like, wow, that was really good. What's next? And you're like, you have fire.
Yeah. But again, because like
having the second book written or half written would have helped.
Yeah.
Harper Lee. Different times though.
And I think like, when we take it back to the drum and bass example and kind of where we're sitting, and I imagine where Nick's sitting because he's got an album coming out in May, it's almost like quite a creatively free time.
Yes. Because
you're like, I can afford to make some mistakes here. I can afford to experiment with my sound, or I can, I'm creatively not bound by anything. But it will get a bit tighter once the album has come out and people are like, that was amazing. What have you got next? Or, wasn't that good, guys? Like, what's next?
People ask what's next already.
Like, people think the fucking album's come out.
I had several people at the wedding come up to me and be like, so the album's out, great job. And I was like,
listen to our fucking Spotify, bro.
Have you heard something I haven't heard? I don't believe the album's out.
It's funny, like, of course.
It also says volumes, sorry to interrupt, it says volumes about how much you have to repeat that music is available.
Yeah. And also how like little people are paying attention. But
too many inputs.
Yeah, way too many inputs. And I mean, that might sound like I'm criticizing people, but I'm really not, because even for my life, like this album and this writing process is Jeff and I's life, right? So we know about it, the people closest to us know about it, but, 1 degree of separation out, of course people don't know about it. I don't know what some of my best friends do as jobs.
I am right there with
you. And I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah, and also another funny thing is I see, an amazing, massive movie comes out, for example, and I go, I'd really like to see that. I'm a big fan of that. And I just don't see the movie. And that happens, like, that's on a Hollywood scale where, like, they've spent millions of dollars on promotion. Yeah. They've spent hundreds of $millions on production of the movie. And I'm like, oh, yes, I'm a huge fan. Whoa, look at that thing over there. So it just goes to say that we have to keep sharing our stuff for the world and keep reminding people that the light is now out on Viper Recordings.
Get it anywhere. Ustream. Except Ustream. It might be on Ustream.
What's Ustream?
I think it's a streaming... It's where people stream.
Oh, like Twitch.
Yeah.
Yes?
No, go on.
As well as the wedding, I also swam in the ocean. And I love swimming in the ocean, and I don't do it enough. And that's the end of that.
I have not swum in the ocean for 2 weeks, It's not bad. But before then, I hadn't swum in the ocean in quite a while.
Yeah,
it is such a baptism.
It's really cleansing.
Yeah. It really does cleanse.
Yeah.
We should do it. Why don't we do it this weekend?
We can. We'll definitely do it.
Let's go for a swim.
All right.
I wanted to talk about MC Fats.
Oh, yeah.
Because he passed away this week.
He did.
Or last week. Which is really sad. We'd never met him. I didn't know him at all.
Only know him through his music.
Yeah. But he sung on Plastic World by Pendulum.
Yep.
Which was on Hold Your Colour, which is like such a quintessential album for Jeff and I and our drum and bass journey. And Drop It Down by Calibre. Step Away, Chasing Status, and a bunch of other music.
He's just got an iconic drum and bass voice.
Yeah. And it made me, I don't know, like it, again, made me think of how fleeting life is. I haven't had anyone close die to me, really ever.
Close to you die?
Close to me die. So, like proximity-wise. And I don't know, when it's like with someone in the drum and bass community, it's kind of like, you know, it's in our circle. That's like our environment. Mm-hmm. So it does make you think a bit more like, what, you know, will people be talking about the light if we died? Is that important?
I suppose.
Is this legacy? Like,
drilling down on is legacy.
Is legacy like, you know, your friends will always remember you.
Yeah, but your friends die.
But then your friends die.
You're lucky if you are remembered in one generation. You're lucky if you're remembered in your lifetime. If you're remembered in one generation, you're incredibly lucky. Like, and if you're remembered in two, wow, like it really funnels down. Like, I think it was Orlando, Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaur. Wow, Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaur said that we don't know who this generation's Mozart's going to be. In 300 years, probably not going to remember Ekko and Sidetrack. They're probably not going to remember Subfocus.
But they might be still talking about Bach.
They're probably still talking about Bach. They might talk about Jacob Collier. Or maybe this 20-year period just doesn't have a person, doesn't have a shining beacon of light. And it's lovely to think where, you know, everyone's going to do it. But the truth is, and history says this repeatedly, you just remember a bunch of people that not necessarily on top, but a bunch of people that make a real difference. And so measuring your legacy by will I be remembered is crazy, because that's like an almost impossible goal to
I think
aim for.
You know, again, we didn't know Fats. We had no relationship to him. The only bit we knew of him, that he was a vocalist and an MC, and we liked his tune. So that's what we remember.
Yes. Yep.
But all the people that were close to him and were his friends will remember, you know, the tunes will be secondary to it. It'll be all the times they spent with each other. It's like our friends. Our friends aren't going to, if something happens to us, it's not going to be like, yep, they made The Light was a great song. It got 100K streams in the first month it was out. They're going to be thinking about the lovely times we had, or the conversations we had, or the support we gave them, or the laughs we gave them.
Or the fact that they still owe us money and that debt's now cancelled because we've perished.
Yeah. He owed me $5. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what we're remembered for, or it doesn't really matter that we're remembered. I think you live a life so you're remembered when you're living it, and you're appreciated when you're living it. And so when you die, you're like, fuck yeah, I did it. I did good. I did as much as I can.
You did your best.
I did my best. I tried not to hurt as many people as I wanted to. I tried not to leave like a negative imprint. And now I'm dead.
I think there's a bit more to it.
And loving it. No, like, I guess, I wonder, like, do you get, I think the death is not the end, for sure. But what happens afterwards is anyone's guess. But I don't think you get that moment of being, like, conscious of your death and be like, I did something good. Like, yeah, Jono did do good. You look back and you're like, yeah, my life was something. I don't think you get any of those things.
Which is why back to what you were saying, you celebrate along the way and you feel celebrated. And it's amazing that it takes someone to die sometimes for everyone to, like, all of a sudden get behind.
I'm sure there's people that do it, but I think funerals, while the person is still alive, is what I want to do. If something happens to me where I know I've got, like, a death date, like a terminal illness or something like that, I'm definitely having a funeral before I die. I want to hear what people have to say. I don't want to fucking...
It's like that Futurama episode where Bender does that.
Louder and sadder.
Yeah.
Oh, Danny boy.
It's quite funny.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely idea.
I think that'll also make, again, a conversation...
People change their speeches?
I think they'd be funnier. A conversation we're having, again, with Nick and Chris about death. Like, it would make death less scary. Because you were like, you have a moment where you're like, okay, I'm surrounded, just like a wedding or a celebration for a birthday. I'm surrounded by everyone that loves me. They've all told me why they love me. We're sharing stories. We're having fun. See ya. Okay, cool.
And then
now if I die...
Inject you slowly?
Well,
you die then?
Maybe. Or maybe I don't die for another couple of years or whatever. But then there's no, like, God, I didn't tell them that I loved him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And now I can say all this beautiful stuff at their funeral. And people will be like, he knew that you loved him. And you'd be like, he did.
But it's not called a funeral. It's called a funeral.
That's a good idea.
A Jonathan
funeral.
Yeah, so we're raising money and it's a fun funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that's not more popular. Maybe it is and I don't run in those circles. But that should be like a thing. That should become a thing.
It should be a thing.
And it should be charged out. It should be expensive. This is a money-making tool for me. Just like...
If you'd like me to speak at your funeral.
Just like mortuaries make thousands of dollars by burying someone in a fucking soft, pillowy bed, I think we should make money and take advantage of this funeral. Not really, at all. It should just be a party. Make it a fucking party. This is my last will and testament.
Make it a party.
Make it a party.
Yeah, well, I suppose we'll close this little section off by saying rest in peace, Fats.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you did.
Yeah.
If you aren't familiar with his music, go and check out at least one of his tunes and hear that iconic, soulful voice.
Yeah.
Jonathan, something I wanted to bring up with you because we have it in common.
We have the same mum and dad?
Yes.
What a bombshell.
Do you find yourself when mum or dad texts you that you respond in kind to their texts? Like you send a text, they send a text, and then you start speaking their language in the text, as in like using a lot of shorter sentences, giving like quick facts rather than speaking more conversationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the same thing. Like mum sent me something yesterday and then all of a sudden I responded on the weekend at the wedding, and I responded like, wedding was great. Holly and I dressed up. We'll send a photo soon.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'd say. With exclamation marks every time. And question mark.
Yeah. But
Did I have fun? You bet.
Yeah. And then, but I don't speak like that to other people that I message.
No.
It's like you shapeshift into communicating in their way.
Well, I think that like mum for sure gets energy from that. she would get energy from that type of communication.
Yeah.
So it's
oven off, ready to party. You're like, oh, what does that even mean?
But like, I think it's kind of in a way a little bit nonsensical and crazy.
Yeah.
I like it. I like communicating that way.
Okay.
Dad's more blunt, but I don't know. I don't message mum and dad that much. That's the other thing. Like, you think about message conversations that you have with people, and they are more conversations. There's a back and forth, there's questions, there's statements, there's laughter. Whereas with your parents, it's more like
information exchange.
I'll see you then, and that's when we'll do the
thing.
That's also an older generation.
I'm getting into a bit of a habit of trying to send mum and dad, sometimes as a group or sometimes just separately, a text that like, this happened, or we're doing this cool thing, or something like that. But maybe that's
little updates.
Yeah, because I know they love that stuff, and I don't see them as much as I used to when I once upon a time lived there.
Yeah.
But I think, when I did live there during COVID with my parents, your parents, I changed my relationship with mum and dad. I really improved it, so I'm trying to cultivate that. I think you did a similar thing when you lived there a little bit more recently, but
keep it alive.
Yeah, you've got to, because that's the other thing is, I heard from someone recently that this person said, "Why would you even bother having kids? I heard they're super expensive, and heaps of people don't talk to their parents anyway." And I was like, that is the most defeatist attitude in the world, and I feel sorry for you that you think like that.
That's sad.
Yeah, and I think our parents do some weird shit. Sometimes it's stupid, sometimes it's amazing, but in the end, they're what you base your kind of life on, whether you know it or not. And you've got to be a little bit, I don't know, patient and calm, and even though it's so hard not to, and cultivate the relationship, because like Tim Urban from Wait But Why says, if you're 21 years old, you've probably spent the larger portion. You've probably spent the most amount of time you're going to spend with your parents ever. You're in the last 20% of time spent with your parents.
Yeah.
And that's even higher, I think, if you don't live near them.
Yeah, I think it's like,
I'll chuck the article in the show notes.
Yeah. I think it's
that just made me think, having dinner with them, talking to them, I just thought of that.
I think the reason you've got less patience with them is because you're shaped by them so much, and you have a natural resistance to that. And so you're kind of constantly coming to grips with, fuck, you're so annoying because we're so similar. And I see traits in you that I don't want to have when I'm your age. And that's a constant thing as both of you grow up. Whether that's, you think that subconsciously when you're 6 and they're 30, or when you're 30 and they're 66. There's always that like, fuck, am I going to do that? Am I going to be like that?
You never stop being their child.
No.
And they never stop being your parents, but you're just trying to even it up.
Yeah.
In the way you communicate and the way you love each other and care about each other.
Yeah. And I think breaking that dynamic of like child, parent, and turning it more into like two friends that are adults. But obviously you have love and like nurturing, all that stuff that is beautiful between a parent and a child. But like, yeah, turn it into like a friendship.
It's hard as well. I remember thinking, why can't sometimes my parents be different? But really, I've actually got more of a chance of changing than they do.
Yeah, I remember thinking that, especially as a kid. I remember like hanging out at Tyson Rudd's house and being like, why aren't my fucking parents more like Tyson Rudd's parents?
Shout out to Tyson.
Shout outs to Daphne and Nick. Parents. But like, it was because
they were just different people.
They were different people, but they were also just like cooler. We could play PlayStation.
They just did different things.
There was a cake on the bench at mum and dad's house, there was like fucking lack of cake or potentially like some Anzac biscuits. Or
We talked about this briefly last night, how you know where your parents' secret stash of secret foods is.
I know where all the jats are in mum and dad's house,
Yeah.
even now.
And you were better at that than I was.
Yeah, because I was a fat little fuck that loved to snack and gorge myself. And I still do. Love to gorge on jats and all sorts of sweet confectionery items.
Jats aren't sweet.
They can be if you put butter on them.
Oh my Lord.
Or a bit of ice cream.
Did you hear briefly in the Bert Kreischer podcast he recently did with Joe Rogan, how he talks about how hot, he gave an example of an attractive woman getting older and less attractive but still having the mind of a younger attractive person, and she couldn't work out why she wasn't getting the same amount of attention. And then he gave that example of an actor's wife who said he was always thought he was a fat kid when he was young, and he'll always behave like a fat kid.
Yes.
Like he's always got that mentality.
Yes.
It made me think, what mentality or story am I still living with that I should let go of? And it's funny, even you just saying then, I love to gorge myself. It's like kind of a joke. But really, if you thought about it, you'd be like, whoa, maybe I need to change that little story about myself, because the Jonathan that sits in front of me, Jonathan, is not the Jonathan that even went to Europe a few years ago.
No.
Or the Jonathan that did other things 10 years ago or 15 years ago or anything like that.
No.
You're at the apex of your existence.
Yeah.
And there might be some things that stop you being so apexy.
Yeah, fucking packet of jats.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
It's between a packet of jats or a fucking blowjob machine. My attention is constantly waning.
But yeah, I don't know. It made me think a little bit about the stories that we tell ourselves that stop us becoming our best selves. And I'm not offering this from some sort of higher place. I'm just thinking about that stuff. And as I try and address issues in my life where I'm like, this is a weird thing. Like, why am I presented with evidence and think differently? Or why am I presented with something that's different but believe something else?
I had one of these moments.
Tell me.
Where I think weirdly, like, this is sometimes like a hang up I have. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is.
Would you say sometimes?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm slightly hungover. The admission comes out.
Whoa!
But
we'll come back to that, people.
There's
a level of professionalism we expect on the podcast, and being hungover,
like, I remember,
is not one of them.
I remember being not really feeling like I was a cool kid, even though I was a cool kid. I was a cool kid, but not like a cool kid, right?
You didn't have a shell necklace at 10 and knew how to surf at 12.
No, but I was 12 years old and playing at a fucking punk band at a 16-year-old's birthday party.
Holly wants to hear that story, by the way.
It's fucking cool as fuck, but fat. I tried to make it with a 16-year-old, and she was like, "You're so cute." And I was like,
"Let me show you my baby penis."
Do you like a boy with no hair on his penis? Because that's what I can offer you. But I also just drummed to this Blink-182 song.
But a rock hard erection.
Maybe.
Sorry.
But like,
you had these memories.
I remember sometimes like rocking up somewhere and being like, "Oh, there's cooler people there than me," and the kind
there always will be,
and thinking that and being like weird about it. And you know, in our jobs, very rarely do I actually feel like that. You know, we went to Rome a couple of weekends ago, and not that I'm kind of thinking about who's cool, who's not cool, but it's a space where I'm comfortable in. And I'm comfortable around these people, and they're our peers, and, you know, they're in the same business as us, and I don't feel like that. But when I step into another realm of people that I don't know, I do sometimes be like, fuck, I'm that kind of uncool kid in high school or like I kind of get a bit nervous. And I feel like I am not the confident 33-year-old cool guy. Cool. I mean, cool is such a crappy describing
It's an
word.
encompassing term.
It's an encompassing term. But yeah, I kind of get that. There's that little story of like,
You're a cool guy.
well, you're an uncool guy. That's the story that comes. And that goes away as I relax, and then you're talking, and then you're just in it, and you realize, hey, I got this. What was I even worried about? It's strange, those stories that, they're not even active stories that you tell yourself. But they just pop up in the most random of places when you're not thinking they're going to pop up at all.
Yeah, that's it. They're like woven into our fabric of being, and sometimes investigating them and thinking a little bit more about them can help you kind of, you're never going to be able to unpick them, to stick with the sewing metaphor, but being okay with them being there and then saying, that's in my past.
Yeah.
Is a lovely thing.
And being like, that's not me as well.
Yeah, it's not me. No man walks into the same river twice. He is not the same man. It is not the same river.
Exactly. And I think like you wouldn't hold that standard for someone else you meet.
No.
So why would you hold that standard for yourself?
Yeah.
Why would you keep beating yourself up for something you did or you felt at a time for so long? But you do, because it's like, we're talking about memories last week. Like that memory, I guess it's traumatic memories are like just there. It's like a door that you never see, and then randomly it opens, and you're like,
some guy showing his asshole, and you're like, what?
Remember this? And you're like, fuck, I do remember this.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And it seems like it's so right there, rather than sometimes good memories. So it's almost like you've got to practice finding the good memories. More often,
and to replace that.
It's amazing how good memories don't stick as well as bad memories.
Yeah.
Bad moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think trauma's the gorilla glue of the mind.
Yeah. You mentioned you're hungover. What did you do last night?
I went and saw Moulin Rouge.
Whoa.
The stage production.
How was it?
It was impressive.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be completely honest,
please,
I felt like the singing was a bit subpar. The second half was kind of rushed. The acting wasn't fantastic. They switched it around a bit, so there was like certain people sung different songs, and a lot of the medley songs rather were more modern day songs rather than focusing on the older ones that the movie does. And it was cool, but I just wasn't into it as much as I'm into the movie. And that's very difficult. Like when you've got something people love so much and characters that they love so much, and I love the way Ewan McGregor sings Come What May. So when this other guy sings Come What May and it's different, I'm not going to like it as much. That's just an unfortunate comparison that you're always going to make. But it was very impressive. I will say that. It was very impressive. But the movie's better. It also reminded me how much I like theatre.
Theatre's sick. Seeing a good theatre production is amazing.
And
it's impressive because it's happening live.
And
it's like, it's so
I say
instantaneous and present making.
I say like, I don't think the singing was as good or the acting was as good. And I'm saying that completely like, I'm not a fucking actor or a singer. I like to act, but I'm not like, do you know how fucking hard it would be to act and sing 5 days a week in front of 3,000 people in like a world class, like what they're doing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be some notes that are going to be flat. Of course there's going to be moments that are like, you could have delivered that line a bit better.
Yeah.
And as well, you're comparing it to a movie where Ewan McGregor had a week to sing Come What May.
Ewan McGregor probably also had a fair bit of production on his voice.
Yeah. Or like, deliver that line again.
Yep.
Do that again.
Whereas in
theater, it's like, that's how you said it. Kind of landed a bit flat.
Yeah.
They just lacked some of those like big emotional moments which in the film, if you haven't seen Moulin Rouge, it's just fucking an incredibly great movie.
I haven't seen it in years.
You should rewatch it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Elvis, which is Baz Luhrmann's latest.
Baz Luhrmann smashes it.
Yeah. It's time to revisit.
But yeah, it was cool. It was a nice little... I'm glad I saw it. I won't see it again, but I'll rewatch the movie.
Well, it's a great review, and I think that's a great way to end this podcast, Jonathan.
But we got to end it in the question.
Oh, yes.
What did you learn this week?
That I need to swim in the ocean more. And I need to believe what's in front of me rather than what's in front of me and something else.
Evidence-based conclusions.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one to remember.
And I will forget that.
I
might not forget the ocean thing. I probably will, but yeah.
That's a good question to ask yourself when you're believing something. When you're believing one of those stories, what evidence do I have that I'm a insert word?
Or that this is actually this.
Yeah. It's a good one.
What about you? What did you learn this week?
I learned... it was more of a reminder this week that I need to take my shoes off and I need to put my feet in the grass and I need to go for a walk every day. And I need these moments of, I did it yesterday and I did it on Monday because I wasn't really feeling that well and I didn't want to go to the gym. So I just went for a walk around Hyde Park.
What a spot.
Looking up at the trees and loving how the light interacted with the top of the trees in Hyde Park. And I was kind of trying to practice the, whatever the sentence is that I forgot and said at the beginning of the podcast, practicing
a life of
unmeasurable
curiosity?
Curiosity, maybe?
Constant curiosity.
Or like wonder.
Yeah.
And being like, that is fucking beautiful. I need to do that every day.
It's a good way to do it. Have you done it today?
No, but I did make a hell of a breakfast burrito.
And sometimes that's enough.
I needed to not be wearing shoes, but I will do it this afternoon.
How good.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
Chat to you next week.
See you later.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on all social media. We've recently updated our YouTube. Go and give that a subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the latest video podcasts. And follow us on Spotify too so you can keep up to date with all our latest music releases. Big up.